For years, a wall of silence and privilege has shielded the powerful. We've been told that some people are simply untouchable, but the ground is starting to shift. The story you thought you knew about Prince Andrew and his connection to Jeffrey Epstein is changing right now, not because of a leak or a whistleblower, but because of an official arrest and a decision by the British Parliament that has finally started forcing the truth into the light. The dam of secrecy is breaking, and the evidence they fought to keep hidden is now the subject of a criminal investigation. It happened on his 66th birthday. On February 19th, 2026, the man formerly known as Prince Andrew, Duke of York, was arrested by Thames Valley Police. The charge? Misconduct in public office. The King's brother was held for questioning before being released later that day, pending further investigation. This wasn't about old accusations or settled lawsuits. This was new. This was about his time as a UK trade envoy, and what he is suspected of sharing with a convicted offender. And it happened because the walls are finally closing in. Let's be perfectly clear about what this means. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is a live police investigation. On that February morning, plainclothes officers arrived at the Sandringham estate, the royal family's property where Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor had been living. They conducted searches at his Norfolk home and his former residence, the Royal Lodge in Windsor. The arrest sent shockwaves through the UK establishment. This wasn't some random event. It was the result of immense pressure that has been building for years, but which boiled over with the massive release of Jeffrey Epstein-related documents by the US Department of Justice in January 2026. While those documents primarily exposed the horrifying scale of Epstein's network, they also contained clues that sent British authorities down a brand new path. Those clues pointed directly at Andrew's time as the UK's Special Representative for International Trade and Investment, a role he held for a decade from 2001 to 2011. This position gave him unparalleled access to sensitive government information, commercial deals, and powerful figures across the globe. It was a role built on trust. The allegation now being investigated is that he shattered that trust. The pressure became undeniable. Just days after Andrew's arrest on February 24th, the British House of Commons made a powerful move. Lawmakers approved a motion demanding the government release all confidential papers related to Andrew's appointment and activities as trade envoy. During the debate, Trade Minister Chris Bryant stood before Parliament and called Andrew a rude, arrogant and entitled man who couldn't distinguish between public service and his own private interest. It was a stunning public rebuke, a sign that the political will to protect him had finally evaporated. Parliament had spoken. The truth has to come out. So, what's at the heart of this criminal investigation? What exactly are police looking for in these documents that Parliament has now demanded? The investigation of misconduct in public office centres on allegations that Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor used his official, taxpayer-funded position to funnel confidential government information to Jeffrey Epstein. This isn't just about a morally questionable friendship, it's about the potential abuse of state power for a criminal's benefit. According to files from the US document release, there is evidence that Andrew was forwarding sensitive materials. While the full, unredacted documents are still pending the police investigation, reports indicate what they contain. In October of 2010, Andrew allegedly sent Epstein details of his upcoming official trips as a trade envoy to places like Singapore, Vietnam, and China. But it gets worse. A month later, on November 30th, 2010, it appears Andrew forwarded official reports from those trips directly to Epstein, seemingly just minutes after getting them from his own special assistant. Think about that. Detailed reports paid for by the British public and compiled for the UK government were allegedly being sent straight to the inbox of a man already convicted of crimes. Some reports even suggest the information included investment opportunities in post-conflict Afghanistan. This is the core of the investigation. The allegation that a senior royal tasked with representing his country was acting as an information broker for a private citizen with a criminal record. The question investigators are now asking is why? What did Epstein do with that information? How did it benefit him, Andrew, or their associates? Was this a one-time thing or a pattern that turned a public office into a private intelligence service? This is why the government documents are so critical. They contain the paper trail, they hold the vetting reports from his appointment in 2001 and potentially the warnings that were ignored for a decade. Parliament's vote ensures that eventually we will see them, but the government has stated they can't release anything that might jeopardise the active police investigation, meaning the most damning evidence may still be under wraps for some time. This story is moving faster than ever. For years, it was stalled by lawsuits and royal protocol. Now, with an active police investigation and a parliamentary demand for documents, the facts are finally starting to emerge. We're committed to tracking every development and digging into every document as it becomes public. If you want to stay on top of this ongoing investigation, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what happens next. The arrest of Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor is an unprecedented event in modern royal history. It's the first time a senior royal has been arrested in connection with alleged misconduct in public office. The monarchy, an institution often seen as separate from the everyday world, has been dragged into a criminal proceeding. The reaction from Buckingham Palace was swift and stark. King Charles III, Andrew's own brother, did not rush to his defence. There was no talk of family loyalty or private matters. Instead, the king issued a formal written statement that was cold, constitutional, and crystal clear. He said he learned of his brother's arrest with the deepest concern. He then stated, "What now follows is the full, fair, and proper process by which this issue is investigated in the appropriate manner and by the appropriate authorities. Let me state clearly, the law must take its course. The law must take its course." 5 words that signal a complete severance. It's a declaration that royal blood offers no protection from the justice system. The king made it plain that the royal family would provide its full and wholehearted support and cooperation to the police. This wasn't just a statement. It was a deliberate act of distancing. This suggests the king, whose primary role is protecting the monarchy, may be making a calculated decision to sacrifice his own brother to save the crown from more scandal. He seems to understand that for the monarchy to survive, it cannot be seen as a shield for alleged criminal behaviour. The charge of misconduct in public office is incredibly serious. It's an offence under common law that involves a public officer willfully abusing their position to such a degree that it amounts to a betrayal of the public's trust. Critically, it carries a maximum sentence of life imprisonment. While no charges have been filed yet, the fact that police are investigating this specific offence shows the gravity of the situation. Constitutional experts are clear. The brother of the king is an ordinary citizen in the eyes of the law and has no special legal protection. The arrest of Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor and the actions by the UK Parliament represent a seismic shift. The idea that the powerful elite operate under a different set of rules has been shattered. The walls of silence, so carefully built around this scandal for decades, have been breached. We now have an active police investigation into serious allegations of misconduct. We have a parliament that has found its voice, demanding transparency over royal privilege. And we have a king who has publicly declared that the law, not bloodline, is supreme. But this is far from over. Andrew was released under investigation, which means police can bring him back for more questioning as they build their case. The most crucial documents, those detailing his decade as a trade envoy, remain under lock and key. Their release held up until the police decide it won't harm their inquiry. The failures that allowed a man now described in Parliament as rude, arrogant and entitled to hold a position of such high public trust for 10 years are only just beginning to be uncovered. The story is no longer just about the past horrors of Jeffrey Epstein's network. It's about accountability, the rule of law, and the slow, grinding process of justice happening right now. They may have succeeded in hiding the evidence for a long time, but they have failed to bury it forever. And the most important question remains, what else is in those documents that they are still trying to keep from us? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.